Yeah, pretty much. In the commentary, Kurt Russell says he is afraid of starring in the movie because he had made a string of movies that flopped at the box office. When he asked John Carpenter about it, he told Kurt that it didn't matter to him. He just wanted to make the movie with him.
Well, put this movie on the pile.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. This I didn't know, and oh my god, you want to talk about something I would have loved to see? This is it. Kurt Russell turned down the lead role of Connor McLeod in The Highlander.
Jesus. I don't even... Would he have done an accent?
I would have to assume.
I mean, as opposed to all of the accents that Christopher Lambert did? Because, well, we'll get to that movie. Yeah. He does about 6 accents at the same time.
Yeah, he does.
Which makes sense. He's a man from different times and places, so it makes sense.
Stop trying to make excuses for Christopher. He just makes choices, and we all have to deal with it.
But, Jesus.
That was a choice. That was all I could say. Was a fucking choice. Kurt Russell as Connor McLeod would have been genius.
And then you add that on top of Sean Connery, who's supposed to be playing a Spaniard in that film. Again, we'll get there.
A little confusing. But how awesome would that be? Carpenter had seen Dennis Dunn in Year of the Dragon and liked his work in that film. He met the actor twice before casting him in the role of Wang Chi, only a few days before principal photography began. The martial arts sequences were not hard for Dunn, who had dabbled, it literally says that in quotes, by the way, in training as a kid and done Chinese opera as an adult. Okay.
Cool.
He was drawn to the portrayal of Asian characters in the movie, and he said, "I'm seeing Chinese actors getting to do stuff that American movies usually don't let them do. I've never seen this type of role for an Asian in an American film." Boy, the times have changed. Carter Wong, who plays Thunder, actually worked as a martial arts instructor and the Hong Kong police, which is kind of awesome.
Which means he can kick your ass.
Yeah, he basically was instructing the police how to whoop people's ass. That dude's awesome. I'd love to see the Hong Kong police in action. If they're all doing this kind of shit, I'm like, fuck, I want to go to Hong Kong just to watch this shit all day long. Jackie Chan was at one point considered for the role of Wang Chi, but decided after the box office disaster of The Big Brawl and The Protector, he should put more time and effort into his career in Hong Kong's film industry with Police Story instead.
It's our move.
Yeah, because Police Story is fucking dope, so that was a great idea.
Our move. Although this would have been a good movie with him and Wang, and him playing off of Kurt Russell would have been cool. But
if that meant we didn't get Police Story, then he made the right fucking decision.
He made the right call.
The studio pressured Carpenter to cast a rock star in the role of Gracie Law, Jack Burton's love interest, but Carpenter wanted Kim Cattrall. I don't know why. The studio wasn't interested in her because at the time, Cattrall was primarily known for raunchy comedies like Porky's and Police Academy. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't understand why he wanted her that badly, but, I mean, she was good in the movie, but this is what she was known for, so. I would love to ask him, like, what the hell it is you saw, because I couldn't find that.
He really liked Police Academy.
I mean, doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
We'll get there. She was drawn to the film because of the way her character was portrayed. I'm not screaming for help the whole time. I think the humor comes out of the situations and my relationship with Jack. I'm the brains and he's the brawn. Okay.
Sure.
I think the other dude's the brains, and the brawn, really.
Yeah.
Jack's useless. I mean, she's got some good ideas.
Until literally, like, the end of the film. Yeah. He's rather useless.
He's rather worthless. He's just kind of getting in the way. Kurt Russell lifted weights and began running 2 months before production began to prepare for the physical demands of the shoot. In addition, Carpenter and the cast and crew did a week's rehearsals that mainly involved choreographing the martial arts scenes. Good. Production designer John Lloyd designed the elaborate underground sets and recreated Chinatown with 3-story buildings, roads, streetlights, sewers, and so on. This was necessary for the staging of complicated special effects and kung fu fight scenes that would have been very hard to do on location. For the film's many fight scenes, Carpenter worked with martial arts choreographer James Liu, who planned out every move in advance. He said, "I used every cheap gag, trampolines, wires, reverse movements, and upside-down sets. It was much like photographing a dance." It's a good idea, because, again, all the fight scenes are amazing.
And you're on a budget.
Mm-hmm. Carpenter envisioned the film as an inverse of traditional scenarios in action films, with a Caucasian protagonist helped by a minority sidekick, Jack Burton. Despite his bravado, is constantly portrayed as rather bumbling. In one fight scene, he knocks himself unconscious before the fight begins. Wang Chi, on the other hand, is constantly portrayed as highly skilled and competent, which is pretty much what we talked about a minute ago.
Yep.
On the commentary, he said, "The film is really about a sidekick, Burton, who thinks he is the leading man. According to Carpenter, the studio didn't get it, and made him write something that would explain the character of Jack Burton. Carpenter came up with the scene at the beginning between Egg Shen and the lawyer, which is so pointless.
Yeah, there's no need for that scene. It is
so pointless for that scene. Originally, it would just started with him in the truck, which is how the movie should have started. Because, A, that was pointless, and B, it just doesn't help anything.
No, because then the problem with that scene, and I guess we'll get to it when we talk about that scene, is that it kind of, like, portrays him as... No, he's the hero.
Yeah.
He showed great courage.
But no, he's not. I mean, he did show courage. I'm not going to lie and say he didn't, because he did go there, but he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He was just getting in the way half the time.
Yeah.
So it's just a strange thing to do. Kurt Russell suffered a bad case of the flu during the scene at the brothel, so the sweat on his body is real, caused by the fever. Making a movie isn't always fun. In the wedding scene where Lo Pan is putting a needle into Mao Yin, James Hong actually jabbed Susie Pie too hard.
Whoops.
You can see her flinch, as he puts it. I rewatched it, and yeah, she flat out just jumps. And it's like, yeah, that's the needle flat out going into her hand. That's not cool, man. In the Lo Pan marriage scene towards the end of the film, James said, the whole set with the mouth coming down on the steps in the escalator was very dangerous. It was a very narrow escalator, and I was on lifts, 12-inch lifts. All of a sudden, John said, we don't have time, you've got to do it right now. I said, can't you get the stuntman? He said, no, you just step on it. So, with that long robe, I tried to put it over the lifts, and when I stepped on just the part before you go down, the real escalator, I said, oh my god, this is going to be my last scene. It looked like I was fierce, but I was trembling. That's the way it was, and everything had to be real. So essentially, he was so afraid he was going to fall the hell off that escalator that he was going to die. Yeah. Movie making isn't always fun.
Hey, go back to our Mallrats episode.
Mm-hmm.
Escalators will get you.
Yeah. Dangerous. Carpenter was not entirely satisfied with Boss Film Studios, the company in charge of the film's visual effects. According to the director, they took on more projects than they could handle, and some effects for the film had to be cut down. Richard Endlin, the head of the Boss Film Studios, said that there were no difficulties with the company's workload, and that Big Trouble was probably his favorite film at the time, with the exception of Ghostbusters. We'll get there. The effects budget for the budget for the film was just under $2 million, which Edlin said was barely adequate. One of the more difficult effects was the floating eyeball gag. It was powered by several puppeteers and dozens of cables to control its facial expressions. It was shot with a special matting system designed specifically for it. The interior of Egg Chen's garage or office is Fire Station 23, the same building used as the business interior for the Ghostbusters. So, there you go. John Carpenter received a Saturn Award for Best Music nomination. With the soundtrack, Carpenter wanted to avoid the usual cliches as found in other scores of big American movies with Chinese characters, because they're basically the same all the time, as he said. I didn't want that for Big Trouble. He instead opted for his trademark synthesizer score mixed with rock and roll music. John Carpenter and Kurt Russell explained on the commentary that the test screening was so overwhelmingly positive that both of them expected it to be a big hit. However, 20th Century Fox put little into the promoting of the movie, and it ended up being a box office bomb. In addition, the film was released in the midst of the hype for Aliens, which was released 16 days afterward. However, it went on to be a huge cult hit through home video. Carpenter and Russell explained that the reason the studio did little to promote the film was because they simply didn't know how to promote it, which is fair. After the commercial and critical failure of the film and constant fighting with studio head Lawrence Gordon, who constantly interfered with the film up until its release, Carpenter became very disillusioned with Hollywood and became an independent filmmaker. He said in an interview, "The experience was the reason I stopped making movies for the Hollywood studios. I won't work for them again. I think Big Trouble is a wonderful film and I'm very proud of it, but the reception it received and the reasons for that reception were too much for me to deal with. I'm too old for that sort of bullshit." Carpenter's two follow-ups, Prince of Darkness and They Live, were made independently via Alive Films, without any studio interference and distributed by Universal Pictures. It shows, because those movies are wacky as fuck and great. And we've already covered They Live, so go back and find that one. It has since enjoyed a resurgence on television and home video, and has received a great deal of retroactive positive press. Now, speaking of which, the legacy of this picture. So, A tie-in video game of the same name was published in 1986 by Electric Dreams Software for the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, and Amstrad CPC. Critical reception was mixed, which is better than the last time, where they said it was terrible. So, maybe it's good. I gotta find it. Several comics set in the world have been printed over the years. The first published by Boom Studios in June 2014, written by Eric Powell and John Carpenter, with artwork by Brian Chirula. Boom also released a crossover comic miniseries between Jack and Snake Plissken, titled Big Trouble in Little China: Escape from New York, in October of 2016. The most recent is called Big Trouble in Little China: Old Man Jack, written by Carpenter and Anthony Birch, with art by Jorge Corona. Taking place in 2020, Jack Burton comes out of retirement to battle Qing Dai and save the world. Why not? There have also been a board game, many action figures, and a 2015 collectible card game, which I didn't know existed and need to find immediately.
I saw the board game. The board game looked really fun.
The collectible card game makes me laugh. Released by Upper Deck, so a legitimate company put it out. It's not just some random podunk company. This is going to be the no-shit moment. The film's portrayal of the Lightning Sorcerer demigod character has been occasionally described as an inspiration for the character of Raiden from Mortal Kombat. The hell you say? Introducing the archetype of a straw hat-wearing monk able to control lightning with his hands to Western audiences. In traditional Chinese and Japanese culture, the lightning god is represented more akin to a traditional Asian demon, which I would have liked a lot better in Mortal Kombat.
Than just a dude.
And just a dude
with
in
a
a
hat.
hat. Yeah. Additionally, the character of David Lopan has been credited as the original inspiration for the soul-stealing Mortal Kombat villain Shang Tsung, which I can kind of see.
Mm-hmm.
At least the original old man look. The 23rd episode of the second season of the 2013 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, called A Chinatown Ghost Story, uses concepts from the film but replaces Lopan to Ho Chan, and the storm figure Rain is replaced by Wind. In addition, James Hong voices Ho Chan. So, that's kind of cool.
He went into voice acting, so.
He did. Got a good voice, so it's a good idea. The song We Have Candy by South African rap rave group D. Antwoord features lead singer Ninja reciting some of Jack Burton's lines. I've never heard it before in my life, but I believe it.
Sure. D. Antwoord is a strange bunch.
They really are. Taika Waititi cited this film as an influence on Thor Ragnarok. Maybe.
I guess. I don't know.
Alright, now. Sequel.
Well, speaking of Taika Waititi, that's who I would maybe get to direct that
You would
movie.
think. However, if it was ever going to happen. We'll get there in a second. In June 2015, The Wrap reported that Dwayne Johnson was developing a remake to star as Jack Burton and produce with his $7 Productions film studio. Ashley Miller and Zach Stentz were hired to write a script. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Johnson expressed interest in having Carpenter involved in the film. Carpenter responded saying, "It's very early in the process. I haven't spoken to Dwayne Johnson about any of this. I'm ambivalent about a remake." On August 27, 2018, $7 Productions president Hiram Garcia clarified that the film will be a sequel and a continuation of the previous film. The creative minds behind the new film acknowledged that they have no intention of replacing Kurt Russell by recasting Johnson as Jack Burton, but will make a follow-up movie to the original.
You know Wyatt Russell looks just like him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, he's got a kid that acts.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks exactly like him from the 80s.
Agreed.
So...
just make it set in the 80s. Happens the next day. You know, the next place he travels to.
Put a wig on him.
However, in November of 2018, in an interview, Kurt Russell said, "I like Dwayne, and I wish him luck, and I hope he makes a good film," which, first and foremost, is the right idea. In an October 2018 interview with Cinema Blend, John Carpenter said, "They want a movie with Dwayne Johnson. That's what they want. So they picked that title. They don't give a shit about me and my movie. The movie wasn't a success." All right.
A little bitter.
A little bit. Remember, he doesn't like the studios, right?
Yeah.
In May of 2019, on a podcast, Zach Stentz, original writer, said, "I'm not sure what's happening with that. We turned in the script. They said they were happy with it. I've now heard rumors that they might be going in a different direction. My ex-partner, Ashley Edward Miller, and I wrote a straight-up remake where Dwayne Johnson is playing Jack Burton. I think after he spent time with Kurt Russell on the set of the last couple Fast and the Furious movies, I think some conversations may have taken place, and I think they might be coming around to the idea that it's going to be more of a sequel than a remake, and that Kurt would come back as an older Jack Burton, and Dwayne would help playing a new character. As far as production, he said, "As far as I know, they haven't commissioned writers, and they haven't kind of moved forward on that, simply because of a combination of Dwayne being booked for the foreseeable future and the fact